since I've done this before, painting a Terminator, even, from this series of Terminator Heroes, I thought I would do something a little different. And what that is I thought I'd try my hand at zenithal painting, even though I don't have a dry brush. I did some zenithal painting, a zenithal prime on this rocket packing Terminator. And if you're not familiar with the concept, it's basically priming the model that you're about to paint in such a way that it kind of it has highlights and lowlights that reflect how a light source from above would interact with the suit or the model. And you can kind of tell that that it works, or at least the direction that I did this, because I originally primed this guy in black. Army Painter Flat Black, to be specific. And so after the zenithal prime, if I do this, it makes more sense, doesn't it? And if I do, well, let me take them off this wand. If I do that, it makes even more sense. So what's happening, as you probably already know, but I'll do a little bit of mansplaining here, because why not, right? The idea is that I'm hitting the surfaces where the light would hit with white, and then the places where there would be shadows would be dark. And I discovered this, going through YouTube and watching skilled, talented people do this with an airbrush, and they've mentioned that it's certainly doable with rattle can, the way I've done it. The thing that I'm confused about is what happens after. So it seems like, at least the few that I've seen so far, they get this far and then they'll maybe do some like glazing or some washing over it, and then that's it. But that's kind of not what I want. I want this to be basically how I paint all of my other dudes, plus zenithal priming. And so I don't know this for a fact, but I think the way I have to do this is to go back over this with a watered down, with a base coat, but it really wouldn't be a base coat. It's almost going to be more of a wash. And so I'm going to try that. I'm going to give this a good wash of black to reestablish the idea that this model is black armor, and the white parts are just where the light source is hitting. I don't know if that'll work, and I could probably do a bit more research before I commit, but that's not my style. Let's learn the hard way, everybody. So I'm going to give it a shot and see how it works. So everything on this model has been glued except for the arms. And there's kind of an uneven distribution of the white. There's kind of an uneven distribution of the white between the front and the back parts of the model, and that's okay. I'm gonna just assume that the light source is coming from above and in front, like he's charging into the sunset or sunrise or whatever. And so naturally this would all be shadows. And for this, I think I'm going to go with Corvus Black. It's just going to be a little wash. One thing I'm not clear on is how I'm supposed to transfer paint from this pot to the wet palette. I don't think I've seen many YouTube 40K painters do this step. I am curious to see how they do it. This is how I do it. I use a little stirring stick. It's made of metal. And I scoop it out and transfer it over. But it strikes me as inefficient. So if anyone out there in YouTube land has an idea, I am all ears. I use the same technique to make and to add water to paints, because when I use the brush, I get nastiness all up in that brush, all up in the ferrule, whatever you call it. No matter how careful I am, it always gets up in here, and that's not great for brushes. All right, so this first step is to lay down a base. It's not technically a base since I'm just doing wash, but this is in place of the base. Let's see how this works. May have been too generous with the water. All right, I'm gonna lay down a few layers of this, so I'm gonna wait for it to dry. So it looks a little alarming right now. I'll give it another pass with this black wash, and once it dries, and then reassess. I may have to thicken up the Corvus black a bit to let it stick on. I don't want it to look white with, a gray wash. I want it to look black with zenithal highlights. So I'm going to have to experiment a bit. This should be interesting. All right, so I think I've got the base color on there. I think it's good enough. However, well, let me see. Yeah, okay. However, funny thing happened on my way to basing this thing. The zenithal priming is all gone. Maybe I went too thick with the paint. Or maybe it doesn't work so hot with black, even if it's a light black. Don't know. It's kind of sad, and well, that's the thing. Just the wash by itself wasn't really sticking to the primer, and so I had to go a little thicker, and as a result, I guess, I can't tell the white zenithal from the black zenithal. If it is, it's just subtle enough that I can't spot it. So, back to the drawing board on the zenithal priming. Maybe you do need an airbrush, or maybe it's just use zenithal primer and then hit it with contrast paints, and then that's it. Plus a couple of details. I'll do some more research to see how it works. I clearly did it wrong. But we've got a based Terminator. He's a little lighter black than his buddies. So now that I've got this far, I'm going to start working on the highlights. Because he is kind of a dark gray, I'm not sure my usual scheme is going to work. I usually hit the highlights, the edge highlights, with uniform gray, which is this guy. I may have to bump it up to a lighter tone for that to work. Let me see. Let me check. And I started working on the base. Wasn't quite sure what to do. I'm kind of stuck with this gray, the gray tones. So my model's going to look pretty monochromatic when it's done. Obviously, I'm going to go in and do some washing and some detailing, but it's kind of plain right now. I was kind of wanting to do make this look like marble or something. I just don't know how to get that effect. So I'm gonna skip it. Maybe I can do some spots on the tile. Maybe that'll be a thing. I don't know. I don't want to mess it up. I'll just keep it basic. Not sure what I'm gonna do with the Aquila on there. I was thinking some kind of metallic color. That might still be a thing. Alright, well, I'll come back to that. But for now, let's do some edge highlighting, shall we? Reading glasses equipped. Let's do this. So I'm going to start with just the uniform gray. I have some on my palette. Let's see what that looks like. Here is the Terminator, Brother Ebellius, with most of his edge highlighting done. It looks pretty good. I even did the highlights on stuff that I knew I was going to paint a different color. So, like, for example, there, one of his, not hubcaps, kneecaps. The missile launcher, I'll probably paint that up red. But I wanted to, get some practice and make sure I got everything done. And so that's what it looks like. I think I'm going to hit it one more time, this time with a lighter, either a lighter gray or maybe a grayed up white. I'm not sure, but like maybe the top parts of some of the highlights, just to bring up the tone just a little bit more. I mean, right now it looks pretty nice. It looks kind of weathered and beaten. Minimal errors. There was one back here somewhere that I was like, it was right at the end. Yeah, right there. So I'll probably fix that. And I need to do the hands as well. But I think I'm getting faster at those edge highlights. Maybe it was just in the zone today. Who knows? So next up, I'm going to do the arms, and I'm going to go at this one more time with a lighter shade. I'll do that off camera and come back with that result before I move on to some detailing. So I've wrapped up the highlights on our Terminator here, and it's kind of subtle. I mean, I did all the gray stuff, and then I went over it with a little bit of the white, just on the very kind of the top parts. In fact, I did top left. So like I did this rocket pod, kind of top and side, but this one I only did top, and maybe I'm just getting too cute. I don't know that it's going to make a difference. If it does, it's a little on the subtle side, but who knows? At any rate, so now this is the basing done and the highlighting done. Now it's on to add some color, some details. So that's going to be the next step And here's what I've got so far as my base is concerned. It's a decent start. I'm not sure how I'm feeling about this debris down here, but I don't want to remove the debris. Like, I don't want to add texture paint because I like these kind of rebar that are sticking out. I'm going to go over them with some Fuegian orange. I really love the way that a wash of that makes things look rusty. The Aquila here is supposed to look rusty, and it's not really doing a good job of that. So I'm going to go over it again. And my dry brush here did not do a good job. So I'm going to have to do something about that. But it's a work in progress. But for now, let's add some color. And I don't know quite where to go. I'm going to mix up some of my red here. Oh, no, you know what? That's crimson red. I don't want... I'm sorry. I almost forgot that for my firstborn Marines, I'm using pure red, not dragon red. It's a subtle difference, but it helps give my troops a little bit of variety. Here we have what I think is our completed Brother Ebellius with his rocket pack. He's got all the base paint on it. He's got some highlights. He's got some of the details. Oh, you know what? I forgot to wash this. Let me quickly do a little of that. It wasn't quite the color I was going for. That's fine. It's fine. Alright. So, I've got his weapon systems all painted up and detailed. And I've got this bit. So, looking at the pauldron, you probably know what chapter this Space Marine originally came from. Just going to do the last bit of assembly here. Since I've painted, I can safely glue. Alright, there we go. You know what? The arms always give me trouble, so I'm going to break out the super glue for this. Now, this isn't normal Games Workshop stuff. If you'll remember, well, maybe you don't remember, in one of my videos, why should I assume that you've seen everything I've published? That's just silly. One of my videos, I mentioned how I had to get... Oh no! Some special insignia from a bits printing company because Games Workshop doesn't have anything for this. I guess that didn't dry. Oh man, that did not dry. Oh my gosh. That either did not dry or my glue knocked it all off. Either way, there is some repainting in my future. Look at the mess I've made. That is just heartbreaking. Alright, well, you know what? I'd forgotten the head anyway. My dreadnought's not going to go very far without a noggin. So, right, I'm going to... Oh, goodness. I'm going to fix this. I'm going to fix this and be right back. Well, there he is. Brother Ebellius is done. Even his head. Here's what the left pauldron, the right pauldron looks like. That U is a little crooked. Well, that's fine. Not the best, but it'll do. So he's been primed, based, highlighted, and detailed. And I finished it all off with a bit of the satin varnish from Army Painter. I think it looks pretty decent. I'm even really happy with the blue. This is probably my first time messing around, mix my own color. I didn't have an Ultramarines blue, so I took a blue that I did have, I toned it down with a bit of gray, and it turned out a pretty close copy of what I think Ultramarines blue looks like. Even did a little drilling there on the compensator on the Storm Bolter. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with these results. I think part of the reason that I like these Terminators is that they're so simple. And I think probably the only difference between these Terminators, like the Heroes series, and the regular Terminators that I still can't buy from anywhere because they're not available, unless I go to eBay or something like that. I think the really big difference is maybe a little bit of the posing, but the base, in terms of building and painting, the base is probably the biggest difference, and it's I think the weakest part of this build. It's just not great. Even the Aquila on the floor there, I try to go with like polished concrete with like a rusty Aquila symbol, and I used the Fuegian orange to add the rust effect to it, and it just didn't turn out very well. I feel like the rust. Let me get it from this side. Oh, seriously? The arm is coming off? Great. Okay, I'll patch that up. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I feel like the rusty look really works better if I use a gunmetal metallic undercoat. I use the shining silver because that's what I've been using on this model, and it just looks kind of like a weird gold. It looks okay, but it wasn't the effect I was going for. So there he is. He's going into my Space Marine condo as soon as I get that arm fixed. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Even the face isn't so bad. I mean, I could have done better. Maybe. But that's why I usually stick to helmets. Anyway, I had a good time with this one. I think the results are good, and he's going to be an important member of my growing Terminator contingent for my Death Watch army. If you watched this whole thing, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you didn't, well, hope you learned something anyway. Thanks, everybody. Have a nice one.